What do you mean you're not celebrating Thanksgiving, Jen?
I'm in Germany. They don't do that here.
Force them. We force
Jen,
a lot of stuff on
I
Germany. This would just be the last in a long line.
Jen, just so you know,
true.
you're allowed to celebrate holidays other people don't celebrate. Like there's these people, the Jews, and they celebrate Hanukkah like all the time, like at least once a year. And like in Oklahoma, we don't celebrate Hanukkah where the Jews do. So you can celebrate Thanksgiving.
I mean, we'll do it, but in a very German way. We're going to go to the Munich Christmas market tomorrow night because Joe won't have to work. And we're going to eat all the things. So we'll still be stuffing ourselves. We'll still be doing that American tradition. It just probably won't be turkey because that's not really a thing at the Christmas markets. So I'm excited for it. It's fine.
I was in London once for Thanksgiving, and it was this is in the college era. So it was a bunch of study abroad friends and that had been there for a minute. We got Cornish hens. That was the closest thing we could get to turkey, and then we made a bunch of the other kind of fixins, and then there was a long prolonged conversation with a man at a market, an Arab gentleman at a market who, when he heard my accent, wanted to know what I thought about 9/11.
Wow.
Great.
And then about a
and you
year
were
later,
for or
there was a
against
subway
it?
attack right by that tube stop.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Anyway,
I only spent
Thanksgiving
one
abroad.
holiday. I only spent one holiday that I can remember overseas, and it was 4th of July. And I was at a campground in Amsterdam. And so Joe and I bought a bunch of stuff and we decided to throw a little 4th of July party. But there were 2 Brits there and they kept calling us the colonies. And by the end of the day, we were fighting.
Yeah.
So
Get
fucking
some.
arrogant.
Scoreboard.
Yeah. But you know me, I started talking shit on their stupid queen. And
yeah, exactly.
We got
what
into
do you think
it.
This is Canada? We don't have your old bitch on our money.
I think I said something very close to that. They were not amused.
Yeah, good. Well, fucking take it to another Commonwealth that didn't renounce you. We did it the old-fashioned way. We put you.
Yeah,
in,
we're
and guess what?
celebrating
They were
getting
begging
away
for
from you
money
people.
from us within 80 years. Broke ass fucking bitches, busters.
That was the vibe. Yes.
Yeah. Anyway. Now that I'm away from all of my British friends, I can reveal my true feelings.
Yeah.
And Heaton, you're doing Thanksgiving there in old DC. Do you have
in Virginia? I'm gonna hang out
destination
with the Bragg brothers that I do videos with Reason and their family, which would be nice. I'd love to go back to Oklahoma, but I just didn't strike me as a great idea to book flights to Oklahoma for Thanksgiving during the shutdown. Worked out, I guess, but it seemed like a pretty good recipe for getting frustrated. So I'll drive home right before Christmas and be back for a few days and then swing through Austin as well. So I'll be back.
For the record, I had 11 flights during what was supposed to be the shutdown. They wound up one trip canceled, so I wound up having to do 9 flights during that period of time, and only one of them were delayed by an air traffic controller thing by about 45 minutes maybe, but that was coming from Houston to Austin, so it wasn't like the biggest thing in the world. I probably could have driven if I really, really wanted to, but instead I just sat in the Polaris Club and ate food.
Do you have United Club membership?
I upgraded back from London to try and, because sleep was I could not really afford to be too jet lagged because I was hopping right from London to Austin, and then within 48 hours I was going to be in San Francisco. So I kind of needed to keep the sleep about as close to it as I could. So I splurged for the lay flat seats on the way back, which gave me Polaris Club access when I landed in Houston for my layover, which turned out to be longer.
To fly business.
This was an unexpected flex because I really just wanted to point out that I did fly a lot during the shutdown, and so far so good. Everything is kind of held up.
That's good.
So last year when I drove back for Christmas, I just went, Google, take me home, not remembering that Google will be willing to drive you through the northernmost route during the dead of winter if it saves, I'm not exaggerating, 3 minutes. So just not even thinking about it, it had me go through like Maryland, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, and then straight south through Nebraska, like the worst possible route for the fucking snowstorm that I hit. So this year I will not be doing that, and I'll check the weather to make sure that the plan that I come up with is remotely feasible.
Are you driving again to bring Wallace?
That's exactly right.
You need a little tiny dog. They're so much easier. Throw them in a bag.
I quit feeding him, but he's still very big. And I don't know. Yeah, no, it's all right. We do a road trip. I listen to audiobooks, and then when I'm in Oklahoma, I want to have that car. My parents are far enough out that you can't walk anywhere from my parents' home. There's literally no public transit. An Uber would take you 30 to 40 minutes to get into town. And they'd probably loan me their car, but it feels weird. So I prefer that. And then I can visit my family in Alva. And then when I go to Austin, I could go down and I'll bring Wallace. And it just ends up working well.
Yeah, that's nice. I have not been in a car in 1 month and 2 days, and it has been great. I do love this about Europe.
Congratulations.
All the trains. Thank you. I'm so happy to not have a car.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm glad.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, you're not. I can see it on your face.
I know. I don't care. Your love for trains. You're like the person that loudly proclaims, "I love feet." Like, I just really love feet. I love looking at feet and watching videos of feet. Like, that's your thing. I have no problem that you have a feet fetish. Like, I just don't want everybody else to be forced to look at feet. That's my only thing. I don't want to be forced to pay for feet. Yeah.
We are called foamers.
Same thing.
There's actually a phrase for us, and it's foamers. But I'm just really...
Like, that has more dignity than feet enthusiasts.
I think it does. I never understood the foot thing. What's attractive about foot?
I don't understand
Certainly not
the train
nails.
thing. So now we can connect.
Yeah. Do we really have to fight about trains? Because they are the best.
You're the one who brought it up.
I know. And you're the one who didn't automatically.
I didn't react appropriately. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sorry I didn't react appropriately to you saying that you enjoyed trains.
Yeah, I needed some train enthusiasm and you did not deliver. How dare you?
No, I didn't. Heaton, like, I know the Bragg brothers are probably going to have a lovely spread and that's very nice, but you could, clear skies right now. You could run over to Reagan, catch a flight to Orlando and be here for Thanksgiving dinner tomorrow. My mom would love it. This would be a true Thanksgiving classic if one Andrew Heaton darkened our door.
I'm tempted. And I love being whimsical and spontaneous like that. That would be a lot of fun. I'll probably not. I'm going to say 10% chance, but 10% chance. Because if it's $200 and I can fly in and fly back the following day, I'd probably do it.
You want to know what then? We will not talk about this at all on or off the podcast, and I'll just be looking toward the door periodically. Anytime I hear the wind blow,
you do need to text me your mom's address, because that's a whole lot of sleuthing for me to do if we have no further communication. Sure. But text me your mom's address, and then maybe we'll see.
It is right next to the airport.
And flying on the holiday tends to be pretty inexpensive.
Like if you fly on Thanksgiving proper?
First flight out on Thanksgiving? Oh, yeah. No, that would be, yeah.
Let's start the show.
From Orlando, Florida, I am Justin Robert Young. From Washington, D.C.,
I'm Andrew Heaton.
And from Munich, Germany,
Ich bin Jennifer Briney.
And we're not wrong. On this edition of the program, we will be talking about the dumbest state-controlled media, according to Puck's Matthew Bellany. This after apparently Donald Trump has demanded that Rush Hour 4 be made, and it is now in production. And then we're going to ask a very we're not wrong Thanksgiving question. Everybody else phones this shit in. Every podcast that you've listened to, they recorded this episode 3 weeks ago, and it's what do you think's better, cranberry sauce or mashed potatoes? Bullshit. No, we're going to really do policy here. Should there be price controls and specific laws for Thanksgiving travel? A We're Not Wrong debate brought to you to nourish your mind while you nourish your palate on the day of giving thanks here in the US, along with, of course, your emails for dessert. Let's go ahead and get right into it. Paramount is moving forward with Rush Hour 4 after reported intervention by President Donald Trump. Director Brett Ratner, who has been largely absent from Hollywood since multiple women accused him of sexual misconduct during the Me Too movement, has long tried and failed to secure financing for a fourth entry in his Jackie Chan, Chris Tucker buddy cop franchise. But according to reporting by Puck's Matthew Bellany, Trump's personally lobbied Larry Ellison, the largest shareholder in the newly merged Paramount Skydance, to revive the project. Ellison is both a longtime friend and political ally of Trump. The two recently settled a $16 million lawsuit involving a contentious 60 Minutes interview. Paramount has now reportedly locked in funding and a distribution partnership with Warner Brothers, which originally handled the franchise under New Line. Critics have questioned Ratner's return, as well as the political implications of Trump's involvement, with Bellany joking that audience should get ready for, quote, the dumbest state-controlled media. Ratner recently directed the $40 million Melania Trump documentary for Amazon MGM Studios, another studio tied to a Trump-aligned billionaire. The first three Rush Hour films grossed over $850 million worldwide, and observers see the revival as part of Trump's broader efforts to reshape Hollywood culture during his second term by elevating traditional masculine archetypes and boosting friendly creatives. Jen Briney. Is this racial fish out of war action comedy sequel starring a 71-year-old Jackie Chan and a 54-year-old Chris Tucker beating up baddies the final straw that breaks the camel's back of American democracy?
No, I do think we'll survive Rush Hour 4. I think we'll be fine. I do know that I don't think anyone's asking for this. It's a very weird thing for the president of the United States to demand. I did enjoy the first one. Never saw 2 or 3. But yeah, it's odd. It's very Trumpy. But when I saw this on the prep sheet, because I did not care enough to click on anything about this in the wild. But when I saw this, the word that stuck out with me was the very first word in the summary, which is Paramount. Paramount is moving forward with Rush Hour 4. And I have also been hearing about Paramount because Paramount is one of 3 companies that is interested in buying Warner Brothers / Discovery. This would be a antitrust issue because Warner Brothers and Discovery, they have HBO, CNN, TNT. They have a giant movie studio. I mean, this is a very big company. And it's Netflix, Comcast, and Paramount, big companies in their own right, that are thinking about buying Warner Brothers Discovery. So when I look at Paramount doing what Donald Trump says, having that thing be, hey, I want to do a favor for my sexual predator friend and put out a shitty movie. The reason Paramount would bend over backwards and do this is because if they were to get the bid for Warner Brothers Discovery, that would need regulatory approval from the Trump administration. And there are some obvious antitrust concerns. So I just instantly thought of like this big business picture going on here. Like this is why they would make this stupid movie on behalf of Donald Trump. But no, I don't think this is, out of all the Trump scandals, this is not one that I particularly give a shit about. In fact, I'm kind of happy for Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker because where the hell have those guys been for the past 10 years? So it's like, yay, they got a project. Those are all the shits that I have to give.
I actually think if we're going to do the regulatory conversation, that Paramount has the cleanest bid for Warner Brothers Discovery because they want to buy all of it. And right now they are in the lesser position when it comes to streaming. So like Comcast might be in a similar position if they just wanted to buy, if they wanted to also buy all of it, but they don't want to buy all of it. They want to buy just the streaming side and the studio side, and they want to leave all the cable channels to be spun off because they've already spun off all of their cable channels, which is why MSNBC is now Miss Now. Meanwhile, Netflix is going to face the hardest road because you are taking the number 1 streaming service and having them buy the number 3 streaming service. And that is the ascendant media property, which would always be looked at as a bigger antitrust issue. Whereas Paramount Skydance is like the number 5 that would be buying the number 4. So that's and they want to take the money losing cable stuff on as well. So like Heaton and I were in, at our secret society, and I was talking to people that produce television for Discovery, and they were like, just asking, because they have no idea. They just produce shows about people finding gold in holes. And
pawn shops, cakes,
yeah,
pawn shops and cakes.
That's all they do. They live a simple life. And so they're like, who do you think is going to buy it? And I'm like, even if Paramount Skydance didn't have the inside track with the White House, and let me make it clear, they have the inside track with the White House.
Yeah.
Like, this is not like, but even if they didn't have it, if you were to just put this and look at these assets the way that antitrust stuff normally goes, they would have the cleanest path. Any of the other ones would take longer. And that's where the board of Warner Brothers Discovery, the reporting on it is that the board of Warner Brothers Discovery is like, look, we can sell to somebody else and maybe it works, but it's definitely going to be a 2-year period. It would probably be less than that if we went with this other bid. And that might actually wind up being higher than the other bids that come in, but we'll see how it goes.
Dumb question. Why are they trying to sell?
Warner Brothers Discovery?
Yeah.
Because the media business is a fucking tire fire, and all these conglomerates got way too big, and cable.
So they're going to make them bigger.
Yeah, cable's dying.
That'll work.
Well, it's right now we're in this weird middle phase. So there was a period in which, with Disney, that ESPN, the network, made more money for Disney than all of their studios and all of their theme parks. Like that channel made more money for them because cable subscriptions were so high. This is in the like late aughts into the tens, as like Netflix direct to streaming is like just in its infancy. Since then, cord cutting has totally shredded what we've understood to be the cable model. And the streaming cable options have yet to take up for it, and they never will, because people are they don't want to pay for a bunch of live channels when they have so many options in so many different places. So now the question is, okay, well, where does the money get made? Netflix has made money in streaming. That's all they do. They don't give a shit about anything else. But every other conglomerate, including Comcast, including Warner Brothers Discovery, including Paramount, that has like, we got a little bit of theatrical box office, we got a little bit of cable channel, we got a little bit of streaming. They've got their feet in 3 different boats, 2 of which are sinking. And so Warner Brothers Discovery, which already merged to a streaming service and a television network with a bunch of other television networks and a studio and a streaming service, they're now like, fuck it. Half of these are distressed assets. We're either going to spin out all the Turner networks, so that'd be TNT, TBS, Discovery Channel, all that's either they're going to spin that out and only focus on the streaming in the studio, and that's what Comcast has done, or they sell the whole fucking kit and caboodle, and the Ellisons are like, hey, we'll just combine CNN and CBS as one newsroom. We will combine Paramount Studios and Warner Brothers Studios, and now we'll have a shit ton of IP because we'll be able to make Batman movies and Harry Potter movies and all that. And then they still believe we're going to sell enough cable subscriptions to boomers until the last fucking flower child dies. Like we will be there to lap up the last of those fucking cable things. And then who knows? Maybe streaming will be such a shit show that cable will come back. You never know. They're just willing to take that risk.
I don't think I'm going to buy stock in these companies based on what you're telling me, Justin. Yeah. This seems like kind of a messy situation for them.
It takes a rich, crazy family like the Ellisons to be like, fuck it, you guys are all doing it wrong. We're going to come in and we're going to do it right. And they've spent like drunken sailors. They're trying to buy everything that they can. They bought the UFC out from under other bidders and leveraged their connection with the White House to do a fight on the White House lawn for America's 250th birthday. Like that's
well, and from what I understand, a lot of this is Nepo baby David, the son of Larry, who really wants to be like cool in the Hollywood business. Like he's the one guiding this, because even in the press reports, there's reports being like, there's a limit to how much Larry is willing to do here. But like, so this is basically David Ellison
so
running
like
wild
Succession.
with daddy's money.
It's Succession. With like money families talking about mergers and buying shit and creating things, and also politics is involved. Great. I saw that show.
Yeah.
It really
it's pretty
is.
It's in that, it's certainly in that realm. And then Rush Hour 4 gets made. That'd be a funny episode of Succession if they, force if the president forced them to make Rush Hour 4. That'd be a good episode.
So
reality is more dumb than Succession.
On that note, Justin, I'm not. So what bothers me in terms of state-run television would be if we did what Nixon wanted to do and have like the White House channel that would just be a full-on state apparatus. And I think there have been presidents that have played around with that idea, but everybody always badgers it back to where it should be, which is not. Or alternately, badgering people in media. Jimmy Kimmel I was really disturbed by that. I thought the Trump administration was overstepping, was causing problems. An old dude talking to his rich buddy about films he liked that he wants to see remade doesn't bother me. This strikes me. It's entirely possible that this is some complicated, maybe not 4D chess, but 3D Succession style financial chess. That's entirely possible. But from where I'm at, it kind of looks like an old guy talking to his rich guy on the golf course, going, "You know what was a great thing? You should make that," and talking him into it. So it doesn't really bother me. The other thing I'm going to bring up here too is, guys, if Barack Obama did this, everybody would be talking about how fucking amazing Barack Obama is and how cool it is that we get to have Rush Hour again with Jackie Chan and the high-voiced black guy, and how this is going to be great for race relations, and it's going to be incredible for healing the rift between the black and Asian community that has been growing. And so, like, I'm going to apply that standard to him. And I'll go beyond. Maybe this is, in the same way that I think we now need to solve our budgetary issues by connecting them to releasing conspiracy nonsense. Maybe we start solving policy issues by agreeing to produce films. Like Paramount owns the rights to Star Trek. If they agreed to make a Deep Space Nine movie, I'd be okay with tariffs on Canada. Like, I'd concede some ground there. So maybe that's the way to go. Maybe this is the lubricant we needed.
Okay.
I love this new era for Heaton. Ever since the Epstein files, your new solution is like, fine, I'm never going to convince you on my policy, but either I can get some random shit I want out of it for the dumb thing you're going to do anyway, or I can get a smart thing if I agree to greenlight something really dumb and useless.
That's exactly it. I'm either shoplifting on the Titanic, or I'm going, all right, we'll fucking bring back Furbies. Can we get rid of the occupational licensing on hairdressers? Okay, deal, take the Furby.
The only pushback that I'll give in any kind of serious way here is that when you say you're worried in any way about state media and having like a White House channel, the CNN is a part of this sale situation, because CNN is owned by Warner Brothers Discovery. So if they were then sold to Paramount, which would be giving CNN control of CNN over to the Ellisons, that could change the nature of that particular news channel. And I know that people think that it's biased already. And, whatever you think about CNN, that would be concerning to me to have that particular oligarch have control of CNN. So I think that's the only like seriousness in this. If this was kind of a favor by Paramount to grease the skids to get approval, like if that is at all a part of it and CNN is in that package, that's the only tiny bit of concern that I have. That said, it's barely a concern. I don't give a shit.
I'm not too worried about it.
If Bill Clinton at a fundraiser in LA talked a studio head into making Porky's 4, everybody's commentary would be like, classic Bill. That's so Bill Clinton. Like, so nobody should really give a fuck. The only reason why we don't already have a Rush Hour 4, to be clear, is because of Brett Ratner. It's not because there wasn't a gigantic thirst to make legacy sequels, to get anybody into the theater or to buy a streaming service at any point over the last 5 years, when every franchise got rebooted and had a legacy sequel made with the original cast, or at least as many of the original cast as they could find. It's only Brett Ratner who has not recovered from whatever happened with Me Too. And I don't know. I know in researching for this story, I didn't do a full deep dive into Brett Ratner's Me Too allegations from the beginning of this. I know he settled with his lead accuser, and either side admitted fault except for the statement from his original accuser was, "I hope he treats people better going forward." So I don't want to make a moral judgment. I have no idea what happened with Brett Ratner there, but his reputation is the only reason why this hasn't happened before. Like, Brett Ratner was actually, this is deep Hollywood lore, he was going to produce the Oscars with Eddie Murphy. This is during an Eddie Murphy comeback period. And Brett Ratner had just done a movie with Eddie Murphy, and he was going to produce the Oscars, and Eddie Murphy was going to host. And this was like this big deal. Oh my God, Eddie Murphy's back and he's going to host the Oscars. What a great moment for Hollywood. And that was scuttled because of Brett Ratner, and then Eddie Murphy left. And I don't know if I remember correctly, but the fallout might have continued because that might have been the year that Kevin Hart was then tagged for it. And then Kevin Hart's old tweets came back, and then Kevin Hart got kicked off of it. But yeah, that's the only reason why this hasn't happened before.
All right, listen. Okay. All right. We make Back to the Future 4. Mm-hmm. We give the death penalty to Ratner. 10% tariffs on shit from Mexico. And we make it easier to do inoperability of nursing licenses across state lines. I think we're all down for this.
The grand bargain. Heaton, I actually feel like for the first time in your life, you're now an actual political operative. Before, you've just been a braying mule who just says the same thing over and over, but you've finally broken through. This has brought you into a level of madness that allows you to speak the language of DC. We know legislative aides that could put this package together and start to whip up a vote count.
Yeah. To backtrack a little bit, so in terms of the mergers and conglomerations of these media companies, I'm not too worried about them because I take that as a sign of a collapse of the industry rather than market concentration. Like it's in fact a lack of market concentration that's compelling the mergers rather than the other way around. If it were the other way around, I'd be concerned. But when we talk about how like so much of people's news comes from Joe Rogan, so much of people's news comes from podcasts like us and other podcasts and Substack and things like that, the horse is out of the barn. And I think that the collapse of cable television news is going to look a lot like this. It's going to look like people scrambling and merging and trying to figure out how to keep the thing together duct taped. And it's going to involve increasing amounts of market concentration because more and more things are going to become unprofitable, fall apart, and have to merge together. But that's all. If you're rooting for the dissolution of cable television, and I am, having worked in it, I think its time has passed. I think that's what it's going to look like.
Yeah, maybe. I do know that The Guardian reported that Ellison had conversations with White House officials about specific people that they would consider firing if they were able to get Warner Brothers. Like Aaron Burnett's name has been tossed around. So I'm
shocked a lot of people haven't been fired from the Discovery merger, to be totally honest with you. And I think part of the reason why they haven't fire sold a lot of those contracts is that they knew they were headed for a sale. And you can command a higher price before you sell off the expensive talent and then make the new owners fire the expensive talent when they realize that this is a gigantic money hole. Like that is the reason why all this is happening, is that it's like cable news was flying very high. It had a lot of viewers. It was making a lot of money. And now none of that is happening. And so big contracts for television talent have been going away for the last 5 years. There's a reason why Jim Acosta is on Substack. There's a reason why Chuck Todd is on Substack, because they were big money players that all of a sudden weren't going to be paid like that. So just looking at the economics, I would not be shocked if you just take the top 10 most known names on CNN, sale, no sale. I would not be shocked in the next 3 years if 5 of them, if not more, are gone.
Yeah.
And joining
makes sense to me
on Substack. Come into my
man. I hope I get to hang out with Shep Smith again. I like that guy. He was a cool dude. I really liked him. I think he's on CNN now, isn't he?
Shep Smith, maybe.
I
don't know.
I think he.
We are young and don't watch cable news.
Yeah,
So
right.
I have no idea.
Do you know who Shep Smith is?
But you
Jen?
want to know what? Like, so I was talking to my
I know
mom.
who he is, of course.
I was asking her like her information flow, and she's like, doesn't watch any live anymore. It's YouTube and streaming. That's it. And so it's like, if she's not watching, she's the demo. She is, as my niece and nephew referred to her recent birthday, 6'7". She is 67 years old. So like that's exactly in her demo. If anybody was going to be watching this shit, it'd be her. And fucking hasn't been on once since we came on. So it's like this ship is sinking. Yeah. And that's the reason why I do think that Paramount's going to get it, because nobody else wants it. CNN's not like, or sorry, Netflix is not like, can we please have CNN and TNT? Like, they're like, no, we'll take Batman. Sell us Batman, sell us Harry Potter.
I don't know a lot about trust law when it comes to media conglomerates. Normally in Telelinicon, and now it's kind of going back and forth, but in Telelinicon, we were mostly in the Bork camp. Bjork would be very different if she
that
was
would be different, a different antitrust case law.
But the kind of the Bork standard, which was predominant for both Democrats and Republicans the last 20, 30 years, was it's very difficult to determine what constitutes the market. That's kind of soupy. Like if we're looking at publishing house mergers, is the market just books published by publishing houses? Is it self-publishing? Is it electronic? Mm-hmm. Like it's and you can cut it in selective ways depending on what your goal is, whether you like the company or not. So what they tended to focus on was harm to consumer. Is the market concentration sufficient that they are leveraging that to raise prices on consumers? In the case of media apparatus, like I don't know if there's other considerations that are legally factored in, not philosophically, but legally factored in. Is there a certain amount of viewpoints they're required to have in terms of different corporate strategies, or is it just like if it's harm to consumer? It seems to me the prices have been mostly falling in streaming services, and it's paid for in advertising on the rest of the stuff. So I don't see the harm to consumer going on. It would be difficult to make a case against them based on that.
I'm laughing at your very smart egg-headed analysis here, because we are talking about the Trump administration. And I think it's going to come down to, does Trump like the people in charge of the company or not? Like that's a lot of the approval process in this particular administration. So, I would love to get into I think in the Lena Khan era, the law would be followed more closely and like be more of a factor. But this is a different administration, man. It really just comes down to who has the right MAGA vibes. And so I don't know. I don't know
true.
what this administration would do.
I'm genuinely asking, are there
exactly
SEC?
how big the gap is on stuff like this? I don't know if a presidential enemy, whomever they might be, would have a particularly easy road in regulatory issues going forward.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what matters when it comes to the law anymore, unfortunately. Like, I'm just so cynical with this administration. So I don't know what that answer would be, but I also...
Welcome. Some of us have been here for a long time.
I know.
Jen, can I interest you?
I've been so Pollyanna about it. I'm like, the law should matter.
A couple of Furbies and the death penalty? Come talk to me on the show.
Patreon.com/We're Not Wrong is where you need to go if you want to support the show. And we got a banger for our exclusive Patreon episode, because in between our last show and this show, the defenestration of Marjorie Taylor Greene, once the debutante of the MAGA ball, now Marjorie Trader Brown, soon to be ex-congresswoman, and she is leaving lickety-split as soon as the New Year's bells ring and her congressional pension vest. She is out of here. We will discuss why and where and how, including a little gossip that I heard behind the scenes on the Patreon episode, patreon.com/We're Not Wrong. All right, here we go. This is the Thanksgiving topic. Every podcast needs to have one, and we are no different. Thanksgiving is not just a holiday, my friends. It's the single busiest travel event in the United States every year. A 4-day migration that packs airports, floods highways, and tests every weak point in our country's transportation system. And every year, without fail, we get the same mix of frustration and chaos. Record high airfare, flights delayed or canceled because of weather or staffing, rental car shortages, surge-priced ride shares, and security lines that look like evacuation drills. The Department of Transportation and FAA already require regulate airlines and airports, but they treat Thanksgiving like any other long weekend. There are no special rules for price spikes, no mandatory staffing minimums, no caps on overbookings, and no consumer protections tailored for the most compressed travel window of the year. Critics say this is insane, that the federal government should treat Thanksgiving travel the same way cities treat major events, with temporary rules designed for temporary surges. Supporters of the status quo argue the opposite, that holidays are not an excuse to micromanage markets, and adding regulation would only raise cost and reduce flexibility. Mr. Andrew Heaton, should Thanksgiving travel get its own federal playbook, or is the chaos just part of the American holiday tradition?
Who are these critics that are wanting a federal top-down management of Thanksgiving? Is it Robert Reich? I'm guessing it's Robert Reich, but are there actually people saying this?
No, this is a straw man that I'm inventing for a topic that we can talk about.
Excellent. Yeah.
Aside from possibly Jen, I don't know if anybody would be into that except.
I was wondering if you were setting this up thinking I would be that person. Andrew, you talk first.
Not yet knowing what my esteemed colleague Jen will say, I'm going to go with a hard no on this. I think if the federal government's going to get involved, there are things the government could probably do. One would guess they probably need additional staffing at certain locations, like airports. There might be overtime pay that they need to do. There might be issues in terms of being able to beef up federal regulation of airlines, safety, things like that. I struggle to think of anything else
you'd be for like surging money for temporary employees, or just a federal infusion to make up for staffing.
Sure. Yeah. I want the federal government to do its job. And if the federal government's job is making sure that air traffic control is safe and managing various safety operations that are going on. If there's an increase in the amount of people using those services and we need to have more staff to do it, that's fine. I don't know whether that's something you can do. My guess is there's not a big pool of ATF operators that are just hanging out the rest of the year that you can summon like TurboTax employees and then dismiss.
I think you mean ATC, but
ATC.
ATF, sure.
Yeah. ATC. Yeah. So like I wouldn't be opposed to it, but no, in terms of no.
But that would be government regulating things they already regulate.
I mean, look, so I'm going to pitch something to you. Mm-hmm. So just federal stipend annually to surge for TSA employees that could surge for the lowest level of the TSA. So maybe not even the people that you see, but things that happen behind the scenes, some kind of paper pushing thing that just pushes more people that work there all the time out to the front so you can open all lanes and you can push people through that, and little carts that would be bars, because sometimes the bars are also very, very packed. So extra bartenders, extra TSA agents, that's something that I could interest Senator Heaton in.
Yeah, you might be able to get me to do something like that. What you're not going to talk me into, Justin, is price controls on how high airfare can go during a particular time, or what the government used to do back in the 70s up till Jimmy Carter was they literally regulated what routes you could do. So if you wanted to open up a plane route from Love Airfield with Southwest Airlines to Denver, Colorado, you would have to go to the government and explain you thought there was sufficient market share to go to Denver, Colorado, and then the government would think about it and go, we don't really think that there's a good reason for that. We got rid of that. We don't need it. We need the government to operate in terms of safety, things like that, make sure planes aren't crashing into each other. But the rest of the stuff, this is kind of a prime example of things people can figure out on their own and will do better on a large-scale aggregated basis than a top-down organized basis. If you're driving for Thanksgiving, people can go, okay, do I want to drive? Do I want to fly? What time do I want to leave at? People can factor that in, but trying to go, okay, blue cars are going to leave at 9 p.m., but red car, now I think the likelihood that would actually make the situation improve is very minimal.
Hey, Jen, this capitalist pig believes in his free market so much he's not even flying for Thanksgiving. Can you please explain how the government can look out for the little man?
I mean, I guess what I'm struggling with is why we think that they don't already do so. I mean, if we're talking about air traffic controllers and TSA agents, they're already government employees. They're already federally regulated because they work for the federal government. And I've watched plenty of hearings with the National Transportation Safety Board. And, you know, I love the transportation committees. And they absolutely surge people on the busiest days of the year. You will have all of the TSA lines open. And I know people trash the TSA. I think it's very unfair. I think they've done a really good job, especially the last 10 years, of keeping those lines moving. I think they do a good job of managing their staffing. And so I don't even think that's a problem. And then when it comes to prices, I am with Andrew on this one, because if you are enough of a travel noob to think that you should pay a low price to fly after work on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, like, no, that will be the most expensive flight. It should be the most expensive flight. If you are not a noob, you fly a few days early, you fly a few days later, you fly on Thanksgiving. There's a reason that's the cheapest. This is actually one of those examples where I think the market works just fine. If you're willing to take a shitty airline, you can fly for cheaper. So it's like, take your Spirit flight. If you want a nicer one, you can pick your Deltas or your Southwest. It's just, I think it's working just fine. I am not for any extra regulations of this. I actually think we do a pretty good job. That look on Andrew's face. If you're not watching on video, these are one of those moments where you need to, because he is fucking thrilled.
Yes. Thrilled. He is engorged. Jen, the only of those things that I thought was interesting that I might be able to interest you in would be the overbookings. If there was any other like specific regulation on the airline practice of overbooking, which if people don't know, an airline can book more people than seats technically, with the idea that some people will miss their flight. And so they will have as full of a flight as possible. And some people's tickets are canceled because of that. During the holidays, obviously, this is a little bit more of a precious time. You can't move Thanksgiving because your flight got delayed. You just kind of miss the trip. Is that something that you would be interested in?
I don't think that's Thanksgiving specific. I think that's a practice.
It's not.
If
no. This would be stopping that practice on Thanksgiving.
Stopping it, or at least limiting it, because I also understand why airlines do it, because you do have people that miss the flight, or airlines now are being much more flexible with standby policies, and with changing tickets. It used to be that if you wanted to change a ticket on pretty much any airline, it would be like $100, sometimes $200. It was crazy. And so you were really locked into your flight. That's no longer the case. In a lot of cases, they're letting you at least get flight credits when you cancel your flight. And this is well past the 24-hour window. I have found that, Southwest has always been my favorite airline because they've had that for a long time. I have now found it with many other airlines, including international flights. And so where that flexibility for us exists, I think that the airlines, it's probably a little bit harder for them to really fill an airplane. And if you're someone who does give a shit about, burning fossil fuels, if you're going to fly a plane, the best thing to do is to have an ass in every one of those seats. I'm actually not against the overbooking policy because there usually is some flexibility. There's the plane that didn't show up and therefore someone missed their connection and then the person gets the seat. You also have the case now where you can book your exact seat. You pay extra for that, but that's more of a guarantee that you'll be there. The people that are more prone to getting kicked off their flights are the ones who didn't book the actual seat. They're just trying to get on the plane. So you can actually pay a little bit more and be guaranteed the seat on the plane. So right now, where things are in flux, this actually, I don't think, is the time to be federally regulating this. I think we have to kind of see how this shakes out now that the airlines are choosing to be more flexible. I think back when they were forcing us to stay on the plane and then they would kick you off, that was a lot more infuriating. Now they've provided us more flexibility, so I'm more willing to allow them some as well.
I don't want to change the setup because I keep hoping they'll do that and they'll beat the shit out of me like that one guy from 6 years ago, and then I'll get $1 million. That's like, I think about this every time. Like on the flight back from London, it was already infuriating, by the way, because they hadn't yet upgraded all the business class people. Like there were seats that they were still figuring out for business class. And they're like, passengers, we have overbooked the common cabin and we need someone to sit behind and we will give you $8 and a Snickers bar if you just stay here for 72 hours. And it's like, fucker, put me in business class. Why don't you do that, you piece of shit? And then I was like, I was already preparing the speech in my head of like, look, I got to get I have a dog. I got to get home to my dog. He needs medication. And then like, bolting myself into the seat and like daring them to send into the police. That way we could get it on film and I'd get $1 million or fly first class forever or something like that. I was rooting for that. I was like, please pick a fight with me so I can get some like something more than a shitty voucher out of this. I'd be okay, Justin. Like I agree with Jen's sentiment there. I think that the policy overall makes sense if you're coming up with algorithms where you know that in general, broadly speaking, you're going to have a 2% turnover rate. Therefore, you can do 1.8 of overbooking or whatever the thing is they're going to do. That one makes sense. It's probably going to reduce prices for people as well, assuming that it is a competitive industry and they're actually competing, which seems to be the case. Then being able to do that is going to like make them more competitive, lower prices. Where I would be okay with there being some kind of federal regulation is to what extent can you get screwed over when you are that guy? Like if they bump you afterwards, it would probably result in losing some of the benefits from this that we as consumers have. But if you have made an agreement with the airline and they bump you and there's nothing you can do about it, I'd be okay with there being some kind of law protecting consumers from just getting reamed.
Yeah.
The correct answer to all of this is that the only thing the government needs to do is fix its broken fucking air traffic controller problem, which has been an issue that the United States has had for 10 fucking years. And across 3 administrations now, we have not fixed it. We are not graduating enough air traffic controllers. We are continuing to offer vouchers for people that have aged out of the job so we can literally just keep competent people in the seats. And this has happened for bureaucratic reasons. This has happened for a misguided desire to put more minorities in an air traffic controller position. Many different reasons, the exact same result, which is we are not graduating enough air traffic controllers. And that is a major problem. It is making all of us less safe. And it especially gets strained when you need all hands on deck during the holidays.
So I actually have some good news on that front. It was a bill, I want to say it was signed into law last year. I can't remember exactly when it was, but it was really forcing the government to get us to the level of air traffic controllers that we need. And so it was forcing the government to have the maximum number of students that we can train in a year be trained in that year. They said it would take 3 years to actually staff the number of people that we need. As of right now it's been a few months since I've watched a hearing on this, but as of right now, they actually are doing that. They're hitting their goals this year, but It is going to take 3 years to ramp it up. That's why they're calling back the experienced air traffic controllers. So it's like we cannot solve this right away because we don't have the schooling available. But within 3 years, if the Trump administration doesn't fuck it up, this actually could be solved. So fingers crossed, but so far so good.
There was a really eye-opening investigation that came from a lawsuit. So there was a lawsuit filed by a guy who paid for it. There's like one school that you can go to that like preps you for the air traffic controller exam. And so you take out student loans, you go and do it because this is like, if you're interested in it, I've known an air traffic. One of the kids I went to high school with became an air traffic controller. It's a good career. Like you have a very inflexible schedule, but it pays really, really well. He sued because he alleged discrimination that he was not offered a position because he was white. What the lawsuit found was that there was initially a question on the test about diversity that would run afoul of racial discrimination laws in America. So they changed that to just be, what was your favorite subject in high school? Which you would think, how could that be racially applied? And it wasn't. But the answer that they were looking for was given to the Black Union for air traffic controllers, and they were telling their people what the correct answer on that question was. So then it became just a crony protectionist racket, all of which led us to have less air traffic controllers and did not open the fire hose on the amount of people that want to be in this position.
Yeah,
for many different reasons, this has been very stupid. And every time that I get delayed, I get mad about it ever since I listened to that episode.
I'm by no means an expert on this, but there were a lot of bureaucratic snafus with this. Like we put in a retirement cliff in 1980 or something like that, but we set it in such a way that everybody kind of retired at the same time. So there was this predictable cliff that was coming to it. I'll preface this. I don't particularly care whether air traffic control is private or public. I'm not philosophically attached to either one of these, but Canada's is private, and they don't have the same problems that we've got because they've got a lot more fluidity and autonomy there. They have a nonprofit that runs their air traffic control, and as a result, they hire people based on user fees, and they can set those competitive salaries as opposed to having to go through a congressional appropriations process, which is going to be more sticky, have more bottlenecks and more problems. I think I don't with Germany. I want to say Germany. It's like a private. It's a company that runs their air traffic control, but it's owned by the government. There's definitely influence there, but they sort of function autonomously. And then I think the UK also has privatized airfare, and to my knowledge, none of them have the same bottleneck that we've got with employees in terms of their ATC. So that could be a way to do it.
Well, I mean, I don't think this is a systemic problem. I think we'd be negligent to not bring up the fact that in the 1980s, the late 80s, Ronald Reagan fired so many of the air traffic controllers, and we never really recovered from that. There were plenty of qualified people that were no longer allowed to do the job because he was union busting. And so I do think that was a factor. And I think once we have the staffing up to where it needs to be, because this has been a chronic problem for a very, very long time. Once it's solved, I do think the start of it was the firing of the air traffic controllers. And I think once we get back to full staffing, we should see how our system works before we start changing the actual system. Because I don't think this is a systemic issue. I don't think the issue is that the government is controlling it. I think the issue is we just haven't had enough people in the role, and that has been tolerated for entirely too long. Congress changed that. The Trump administration and the Biden administration are training the people. I think we give them the 3 years that they've said that they need.
I don't care either way. I just want the practical outcome. If the Canadian private system is better than our system, let's adopt the Canadian private system.
How would we even know if that works? Nobody flies to Canada aside from like Seth Rogen going home for Hanukkah. Like, who gives a shit? Like, they have like 11 people inbound.
Such a hater.
I don't know. We're outside of my policy realm. I don't know a whole lot about air traffic control per capita population ratios in Canada, the UK, and the United States. But my inclination would be to just adopt whichever one of those systems seems to be working the best.
Win a Stanley Cup. Seems easy enough for Florida.
Oh, Jesus.
We're not wrong pod at gmail.com. Again, we're not wrong pod at gmail.com. River Hipster writes, the Thames is Heaton's favorite London river. I'm a Fleet man myself.
No, the Fleet is a pathetic trickle of bilge water. The Thames is a manly river. That's my river.
Manly is
That's
the
right.
adjective
You look at the Thames and you're like, God, that river could lift a refrigerator. That river knows how to change a tire. Spelled with a Y.
On Epstein, Sucker's Deal writes, I think it's going to be hilarious when we find out that the thing Trump has been trying to keep secret this entire time has nothing to do with Epstein, but instead the files just happen to have evidence that Trump has overpaid for real estate or some other thing that absolutely nobody else gives a shit about except for Trump.
Sounds so fucking likely to me. Like, you guys remember
me too, dude.
when Trump refused to put out his taxes back in 2016 and everybody freaked out, and like, it's my read on it is that the reason Trump didn't want his taxes out there was he was not nearly as wealthy as he said he was. And that was very important to him, that everybody think he was a billionaire. And the reality was he wasn't nearly as good of a businessman as he likes people to think. And he wanted to keep that quiet. I think you're onto something here. It's probably going to be something like that.
Massey says, Thomas Massey said that we will know when the files are released because men will go to prison.
Let's go.
Yeah.
I love it.
So far,
hey,
we
idiots.
just knocked out Marjorie Taylor Greene from office, which is not what I expected.
Mm-hmm. Hey Idiots writes, I am astounded at how many people, present company included, Justin and Andrew, say that if there was dirt on Trump in the files, Biden or Obama would have used it. Epstein's connections included many prominent Dems and big donors that would come out if Epstein's info was released. He also had massive ties to Israel and Russia that every administration would want to keep from exposure. Jen mentioned Wolf's claims about the proof, and that proof was not just saying, quote unquote, that he had dirt. He was shown pictures of Trump with half-naked girls and described them in great detail. Those pictures are what need to see the light of day. The connection between Epstein and Ehud Barak also needs to be further exposed.
We'll see.
Okay.
Wolf is not a reliable human being. So I know he said that.
Yes.
But I don't trust the man. So is it possible that he did see those photos and they're in the files? Sure. Is it possible he made it up? Sure. So I'm just going to wait and see. We will see.
Just read his books and read how much he writes about what people are thinking. This is like a big pet peeve of mine in nonfiction stuff, is like when somebody spends like, if you are like, okay, in a boardroom situation, you've got three people that are telling you what happened, but not the person who is like the main actor of it. And you put one thought in the person's head, they thought that maybe the deal could go sideways. Okay, but Michael Wolff spends like chapters with Rupert Murdoch like thinking about things, or like Trump like thinking about things. And it's like, there's no way to source that. You don't source that. Like if you had those sources, you would have those guys on the record. They're not just you're not their diary. Like he is a fucking fabulous.
Yeah. Watch out if Michael Wolff is your source on anything. That said,
that being said,
pictures exist.
I do think that like there is something to be said. And this is where, you know, now that we're on the other side of this thing, it's just like, I don't know. I've just been so fucking poisoned. Even me, the remora fish that dives to the deepest level of the grime of politics, has had my belly full of bullshit over the last like 2 months just with this Epstein thing. Because then it turned again. And it's like, first, it's all the MAGA people. Epstein, pedophile island, the fucking deep state, kitty diddlers that are actually Eyes Wide Shut. And that's what the movie Eyes Wide Shut was about. And Kubrick got killed for it, blah, blah, blah. And then it turns into all the Democrats being like, no, Donald Trump blinked. That means he has sex with kids. And he's having sex with kids right now. Like, Epstein's the biggest story. And you see, like, somebody had like a thing of like the amount of articles that the New York Times wrote with Epstein in the headline, like right up until last summer. And it was like single digits. And then since then it's been like 750 like articles a day about Epstein because it became, you know, the shoe was on the other foot. And then Trump's like, release the files. And now it's kind of switched back and it's like Stacey Plaskett and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, even for me, like the whiplash is enough to fucking just, you know, a mainline Dramamine.
Yeah, it's been exhausting for sure. You're doing the Lord's work, Justin.
But the reality is I do think, I mean, nobody in politics up until last summer would blink at the idea that most of Epstein's connections were in the Democratic world and not the Republican world. That was just an assumed, understood fact leading up to this summer, right? Now, Trump, obviously somebody that he had close connections with, but the point of this email are saying like, okay, people in the Democratic power structure would be burnt. That is true. That was the assumed understanding of it.
Well, and back then, Trump himself was a Democrat. We're forgetting that too. He only became a Republican when he thought he could win.
Well, I mean, he flirted with the Reform Party back during the like Jesse Ventura era, but he donated to Democrats. He lived in fucking Palm Beach and Manhattan. Like this isn't Tuscaloosa, dude. Like these are places where Democrats live. All of his friends were fucking Democrats. He was like ensconced in the media. This is not a red leaning industry. Like everywhere
the Clintons were at his wedding.
Exactly.
They're friends.
maybe with benefits, according to some of these emails. Speaking of that, new Bubba conspiracy. Did Trump pay people to leak information confirming Trump's straightness, even to a creepy degree? We all think that Trump had Stormy paid off to silence her about the whole unfaithful to his wife thing. But what if Trump wanted her to talk? What if Trump knew that there was information out there suggesting that he was into dudes more than anyone thought previously and tried to get ahead of it? No one suspects the guy who totally pays female porn stars for sex is secretly moonlighting as another man's stress relief.
I hope this is the case. I hope this is the case because nothing would please Lord Uncle Heaton more than if this Thanksgiving President Trump went, I've pardoned Mr. Gobbles and I blew a guy. That would be the greatest thing in the world. It would be really funny. It would make it would be great for me. My mutual goal of simultaneously lessening homophobia and making the heads explode of the most irritating progressives I know would be phenomenal. It'd be it'd be incredible. I would love it. For the good of the nation, Trump should fuck a man. For the good of the nation, Trump should fuck a guy.
Become the first gay president.
Yes.
Just become the first gay president. Just take that away from Pete.
That.
Sorry, Pete. Sloppy seconds.
Yeah. Kick out Melania. Get John Voight or I don't know how to do this, but
John Voight.
John Voight.
I don't know. They're buddies.
All right.
The real evidence writes, my clown world dream for all of this is that there are actually photos of Trump in there, but they were never released by the Democrats because they show him clapping certified dimes who are all of age with a girthy 11-inch disco stick, like straight casting couch level stuff. And they just couldn't live with that shame and that their guy Biden was probably rocking a limp thimble.
Wow. That is some prose, my friend.
Yeah, this is
for
the
the record,
we've got in a while. Yeah, wow.
A listener friend of ours talked to me this week, and he's like, "Oh, my dad just got into listening to the show, so I would like to say I apologize, sir. I apologize." For this level of discourse.
Hey, meanwhile, listener, you should absolutely be writing funny erotic literature. This is fantastic. Like this is Chuck Tingle's level stuff. Maybe reach out to me. Maybe I'd come up with the title. You flush out the stuff. I don't know. This is good.
He was just, the only photos in the Epstein files of Trump are him fucking of age women too good. He's too virile, too erotic. It's like they took one look at it and they were like, oh, geez, like I'm turned on. What a man.
That would be a plot twist. That's for sure.
On shrinkflation, Yorkshire Pudding writes, I've always found it mildly amusing that Andrew's last name is Heaton, given that I have step cousins of the same name. Imagine my surprise this week when Andrew confirms that his Heatons are from Yorkshire, the same place as my own. We even have a big Yorkshire Day celebration every summer with kilts and everything.
So first, I probably owe your cousins money. Sorry about that. Yeah, or your step cousins. I want to go to the fucking Yorkshire Day celebration. Reach out to me. I'd like to go to this. This would be like, you know how like when Irish people go to Ireland and they all like each other? That doesn't tend to happen in England, but we could make it happen. I could be the first one where I'd come back to the home country and everybody would pretend to give a shit. And I'd walk up. I did go to a funeral in Wales for a Heaton. That was nice. Yeah. But other than that, also we wear kilts. I didn't know that was our thing. I thought that was just a Highland thing, and then the Lowlanders adopted it at some point. I didn't even know that was a Yorkshire thing. That's news to me. I don't know. Reach out and invite me to your holiday.
He might actually come. You should invite him.
I might. I would fucking love to meet 50 Heatons and be like, it's me, your lost cousin.
It would be great.
Let's be pen pals.
Like you would be like in like a sitcom where there's like a family reunion and then there's like one random British person that looks like all the other ones, but just like has, their own version of the catchphrase. Like you could do that. You could just roll up and be the American cousin. That'd be amazing.
Yeah. What happened previously, Jen and Justin know this story, but I had been dating a very nice lady in Scotland a few years ago, and her grandmother died the day after the Queen died. And she went, there's no pressure. There's no pressure at all. You're under no obligation. But if you want, you're welcome to come to the funeral. And I'd already met her parents at that point. And I was like, let's do it. Let's go to Wales. Let's go to the funeral. So we went to the funeral, and I gave my condolences to her dad. And he went, we actually don't have that many people here. Would you mind being a pallbearer? And I was like, yeah, of course, I did that. And then at the eulogy, the priest got up in this, I can't do a Welsh accent, but he did that beautiful sing-songy accent, and he went, we now lay to rest Barbara Howard, nay Barbara Heaton. And I was like, wait, what? So I had to go grab the guy later and be like, hey, so your mom was a Heaton? Did she have any brothers or anything in the middle of the United States? I'm stupid, your daughter. Am I fucking a cousin? And we worked out, no. It was, if so, it was very, very, very distant, not to the point where we needed to be worried about inbreeding. But it was a funny moment. I would love for me to have some kind of Heaton-related event in England that doesn't involve wondering if I'm fucking a cousin or being at a funeral.
Yeah. Panera Defender
make that dream
writes,
come true.
Man, I love Panera. Forget the bread. I'm there for the autumn harvest soup and chili and French onion soup. All about the soup. Give me a gallon of any of it.
Your tone of voice is what made that so horrible. Otherwise, it's just somebody writing in about soup. But this comes off
Someone
lurid.
really horny about
I'm picturing
Panera
a guy in like a
soup.
trench coat with extra Tupperware containers in there to just get as much soup as he can, and then like eating it in a bathroom at a bus station.
Yeah. Just ladle me. Panera
Trump
accuser
video.
writes, my wife has a subscription to Panera for unlimited coffee. There's a location in the hospital she works at. Every few months, she, out of desperation, tries the food. 100% disappointment. The cardinal sin of Panera is that they don't have fryers. They enter the chicken sandwich wars without a fryer.
I wouldn't even put them in the battle. If you had asked me, I wouldn't even tell you that they had a chicken sandwich. Like, who's getting chicken at Panera? If you are, you're just doing everything wrong. So,
local
taken,
Austin traffic and weather tip. Spicy Boys is a chain of food trucks throughout Austin. And I normally get either their chicken nuggets or their bone-in chicken, both of which are fantastic, but they were sold out of it the other day. And so I got a spicy chicken sandwich. And let me tell you, 11 out of 10. That shit was phenomenal. Yeah, because they got this tingly breading. So like it's like the chicken sandwich.
Tingly breading is Trump's porn star name. Tingly breading.
Exactly. Then chili crunch on top. So like Thai kind of chili crunch stuff on there. And then instead of lettuce, it was like pickled like vegetables. It was like something you kind of would see at like a hipster place. Phenomenal. Oh my God. Okay. And I love spicy chicken. It was.
Will you take me there
great.
when we do our post We're Not Wrong lunches? When I get home?
Love to.
Oh, yay.
I'll fly back.
Thanks, Pod Daddy.
We're Not Wrong, that's gross, is a production of Dog and Pony Show Audio. Our editor is Will Saddleberg, who's working the day before Thanksgiving. So everybody please be thankful to the good and gracious Will Saddleberg. On PX3 this week, which Will also edited, my mom is on. And I am going to do a consistent thing from now until the 2028 election because my mom is now she used to be a swing voter. She's not a swing voter anymore. She has not been for many election cycles. She is a dyed-in-the-wool Democrat now. She's got very strong opinions, but I just asked her about all the people that are running right now. And by the end of it, we get her top three Democrats that she would like to be the nominee in 2028. Listen to PX3 for all that. She didn't know who Stephen A. Smith was. Heaton.
I did a deep dive historical episode about Thanksgiving on the Political Orphanage that is a lot of fun. I did it specifically so that listeners would have something entertaining to listen to on their way home for Thanksgiving and have something to talk about. If you want to have something that you can, I heard this interesting story. That's that. So as a teaser for this, Jen or Justin, do either of you remember Squanto, the friendly Indian, and the story of Thanksgiving?
Of course,
What do you remember about him?
He planted fish, and that was a Native American way to have corn or maize grow more plentiful. That is what I know about Squanto.
Gold star. That is true. He did that. The story that we grew up with was that Squanto was the friendly Indian who wandered into Plymouth and spared the pilgrims from starvation out of the kindness of his heart. And it's part of that whole heartwarming story of coming together as communities and peace and plenty and whatnot. The actual story behind Squanto is fucking fascinating. And I went down a massive rabbit hole on this. So Squanto had been enslaved by the English and learned English by being a museum curio in a guy's house. He'd been a living piece of museum that eventually talked the guy into sending him back to America. When he got back, he went to his village only to find that every single person in it was dead from the plague. Everybody he knew was dead. And then he got captured by another tribe that thought he was too European. And a couple of years later, the Pilgrims moved into Plymouth, which happened to be the exact location his tribe had previously been to. So he was walking into the village that he'd grown up in, only full of white people. And he did help them. He was instrumental in terms of being able to secure a peace with the Wampanoag and peace treaties with other people. He taught them about corn and fish. He taught them all this local stuff. The thing that we don't hear about is that during that Thanksgiving, he was walking around to all of the other Wampanoag going, you see these English people, how they're eating out of my hands? I have them right where I want them. I'm the only guy here who speaks English. I have command of their guns. I know where they keep the plague. And they started sending him gifts from other villages. And he was basically using all of this as a political constituency for what would have been the greatest political comeback of all time. It's an amazing story. Squanto is a cunning political operator. And that story of the peace and happiness and security and friendship of Thanksgiving is built on top of a brutal layer of Game of Thrones style realpolitik. And that's what we're doing on the Political Orphanage.
That
Go
is
Squanto.
awesome. I cannot listen. I cannot wait to listen to that. Jen.
So Andrew, you might like my episode because it is about 23andMe. And so if you are considering hiring a company like that to find out if you are, in fact, of the Yorkshire Heatons, you might want to think twice.
Too late.
Congress had a few hearings about this. And I learned a lot about what these private companies are doing and can do with our genetic information and where there are holes in the law. And so I took these 2 hearings and it's less than an hour. It's a relatively short episode, but you'll hear the highlights from both of those hearings. You'll hear from the people in charge of 23andMe and then law professors that point out some pretty important stuff when it comes to these companies that, like, I never gave my DNA to these companies, but my family members did. And so whether you chose to be a part of this or not, you might be a part of it. And so I think we all need to be aware of what's going on.
So wait, am I screwed? Because my family, all of us, my brother, my parents, and me did this maybe like 8 years ago with 23andMe specifically. So I'm like, am I boned? What's this going to stop me? Am I not going to be getting health insurance?
Horse is out. The genetic horse is out of the barn for you. You're fucked.
My favorite moment from all of that was on Dad's side, a little bit of Ashkenazi Jew, not a whole lot, but I mentioned it to my friend Gene Epstein, and I was like, but it's not a lot. It's like 1,000th. And he gave me a big hug and went, good enough for Hitler.
Wow.
Like, thanks, Gene.
That's dark. Well, basically, 23andMe was the catalyst for the conversation because they went through a bankruptcy. And spoiler alert, at the end of the bankruptcy, I think it ended up in good hands. But the regulatory situation is quite dark. And we didn't know about that until 23andMe exposed some real problems. Like, essentially, the privacy policies are what's governing what happens to our DNA. And the companies are 100% in control of that. So you're able to delete your data from 23andMe. There's a lot of information in the episode about what they actually do. And you can decide for yourself whether you think the data is actually deleted based on what they say. But when these companies are sold, there's really no restrictions on who they can sell the companies to. And all the data goes with it. So at some point, if one of these companies does sell to a health insurance company, like, what can they do with that? Like, there's no guardrails, or at least there's some. So that's the thing. Listen to the episode to get the details on it. But I was left underwhelmed with the amount of protection that we have from our government.
That's a really interesting topic. We're in a new period of history in terms of that. Like, this is a new form of property. Like, it's not quite IP law. It's not quite privacy. It's data. It's a new thing. It's going to require interesting thinking.
Yeah, it's not covered by HIPAA because HIPAA just didn't even imagine this, you know?
Yeah.
It's just a new time.
One last plug. It will be out by the time that you are listening to this, because while Will is editing this, I'll be editing and publishing a brand new episode of World's Greatest Con. It's been a minute since we put out an episode, but the Ponzi scheme. Why? What was the original Ponzi scheme? Why do we call it the Ponzi scheme? The tale of Charles Ponzi, Italian immigrant who made such a fool out of the city of Boston, his name lives in infamy. All of those details read to you by Brian Brushwood on the brand new episode of World's Greatest Con. Similarly with Heaton, designed to give you a fun talking point at Thanksgiving before or after you arrive on your long transit journey. All right. For Andrew Heaton and Jen Briney, I'm Justin Robert Young, saying we're not wrong. Jackie Chan, who thought he could touch a black man's radio, boy, is.
Dog and Pony Show audio.